President Obama speaking at the G20 meeting in Turkey this morning. He called the deadly terror attacks in Paris a sickening setback in the fight against ISIS, but says he foresees no major changes in his strategy to defeat that terror army. Joining us now with his thoughts, Oklahoma Republican Senator James Lankford. He is the only senator who sits on both the Homeland Security and Intelligence committees. And I know that a great many of the briefings that you receive are classified, but they must be pretty frightening.
They are. We're facing very real threats as a nation, and this is not a setback. This is an ongoing strategy from ISIS. This is what they've done in Libya. This is what they've done in Afghanistan. This is what they've done in Egypt. This is what they've done in numerous villages in Syria and Iraq. They mean to hold territory, and they mean to continue to expand this out. So this is not setback. This is strategy for them. And the challenge is, what's our strategy to respond? The
president famously said on Friday morning, ahead of the attacks in Paris, that ISIS is contained.
Right. They're not contained. Obviously, they're demonstrating they're not contained. And the challenge that I had when I first heard that comment was, it seems odd to say they're contained at all right now, even within Iraq and with Syria, as they continue to move at will around that region. We have this plan that's coming out from the administration just to strike them and to be able to find some way to limit them, but not to actually get rid of them. We have to be able to meet them, and that's what is the great unknown. The number of fighters that are ISIS fighters wouldn't fill up most American football stadiums. This is not a large group of individuals, but they're tenacious and they rule with absolute terror.
But can you find them? If it is a relatively small group of fighters,
sure.
Is there a way through intelligence and other means to identify them?
Right.
And take them out?
We have to be able to increase our intelligence operations on the ground there in Syria, but we can't do that very, very strongly in Iraq right now. And the challenge that we have is the members of the military that are currently in Iraq, and we have about 3,500 that are in Iraq right now. They're in a train and equip type mode rather than an advisory mode. And so as just 30 miles away from Baghdad and not far away from where our troops are stationed, ISIS continues to build strength, and we're not strongly opposing them other than with air power. We have got to actually get people engaged in that to help those Iraqi soldiers to get there and to know what to do when they actually arrive. They need our expertise. They don't have it. We have it.
The president also said in that interview on Friday, essentially saying, you can't just go into Raqqa. We don't have the boots on the ground.
No,
well,
yeah.
The military wanted boots on the ground back when the president was elected, and he said, let's get out of Iraq.
Sure, yeah, John, the entire world is waiting on America to develop a clear strategy so they can follow. This is the same thing that's happened in previous wars. When America sets a strategy, the rest of the world follows on this. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Jordan, all of those are not going to engage until they hear a clear strategy from us. If we set a path and say this is what we're going to do, and we show some focused resolve, they will commit to help.
Well, the president, and you may have heard him in his news conference this morning, he says he's got a strategy.
And I've yet to hear anyone articulate what that is. I've been in classified meetings as well as in public meetings. His strategy is containment. His strategy is to keep ISIS from expanding. The problem is, tell that to the folks in Libya, where they see multiple people beheaded, and ISIS is on the move in Libya. Tell that to the folks in Paris now and what's happening there, or in Tunisia, or in Egypt, or in Afghanistan, or Pakistan, and the constant move that's happening. Or even, as one of your previous guests mentioned, Garland, Texas, just last May, where individuals from Syria reached out to someone that was a sympathizer in Arizona, encouraged them, prepared them. They made the multiple miles drive and then went to Garland, Texas, and began shooting up a facility there. They didn't make it out of their car, basically, before they were confronted because we caught them, or else we would have had the same type of situation in the United States.
Yeah, essentially one local police officer stopped what could have been a terrible attack. Let's talk about intelligence. I mean, the French said that they knew there was something in the works, but they couldn't put their finger on it. There were 20 people involved in this thing at least. Should there have been more indication of what was about to come? And are you confident that in this country, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, others, are able to prevent this kind of an attack?
After Charlie Hebdo in France made some changes in their law, and they stepped up their intelligence operations. They're not fully staffed to the level that they need at that point. They're still hiring and trying to bring people on. Obviously, that's going to continue to accelerate for them so they can take care of intelligence issues. We partner with France in sharing of intelligence to be able to pick up what we can. One of the biggest challenges that we face, and Jim Comey from the FBI has been very articulate in this issue, is the issue of what's called going dark. When terrorists move into an encrypted conversation, whether that be on some of these encrypted app conversations or whether that be on the iPhone and the iMessage platform that's there, We can't see it. No one can see it. It's completely encrypted. Even Apple could tell you it can't be read. That is known clearly by the terrorist organizations. Now, that's a major struggle. And it's one of the things that Comey has been good to be able to put on the table and say we have to find a way to resolve this. We need better encryption as a nation. The Office of Personnel Management could tell you when they had millions of files stolen, we don't have good enough encryption. We need good encryption. But we also need to understand with greater encryption also comes the real threat of terrorism.
Last question. I'm guessing the president doesn't call you often to ask for your advice, but if you were to have a meeting with him one-on-one this morning, what would you say? It's actually supposed to be the role of the Senate to be able to engage with the White House for advice and consent and to be able to have some free-flowing dialogue on this. We have not had that much with this White House. I would tell you the big challenge that we have is to step up what's happening in Iraq. As ISIS continues to move in Iraq, it's showing an area, even where we have our troops on the ground there, that we're not engaging them in a way that's actually pushing them back. We have to take out Assad. Assad is the focal point in the Middle East. Many of the other nations will not engage against ISIS because ISIS is fighting Assad. And until Assad is gone, ISIS will continue to move. And many of the countries in the region would say, why would we take out Assad or take out ISIS? ISIS is fighting Assad. We like ISIS at that point that they're fighting Assad. So Assad has to be removed. We have to have transition. That is still a key unanswered question that has sat unresolved now for years. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, Republican and a member of the the Homeland Security and Intelligence Committees. Senator, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Heather.